Picture this. You're sitting in a meeting, taking notes, nodding along, and suddenly you realize you haven't retained a single word for the last 5 minutes. Not because you're distracted, because your brain just shut off. Here's what nobody tells you. That moment, that's not a bug. That's your brain protecting itself from bad advice. Everything you were taught about learning, the study techniques, the productivity hacks, the use it or lose it mentality, most of it fights your biology, and your brain is quietly refusing to cooperate. I'm going to show you something uncomfortable. The most popular brain myths aren't just wrong, they're expensive. They cost you time, energy, progress, and the worst part, they sound so reasonable that even neuroscientists believed them for decades. Some still do. But the data tells a different story. Let's break the lies. Everyone loves this one. Train your brain like you train your body. Sounds empowering, right? Except your brain isn't a muscle. It's an energy crisis waiting to happen. Here's the math that changes everything. Your brain is 2% of your body weight, but it consumes 20% of your total energy. That's 10 times more than it should proportionally. In children, 50%. In infants, 60%. Now imagine if your bicep demanded that much fuel just to exist. You'd be eating 8,000 calories a day. The brain isn't expensive because it's lazy. It's expensive because it's impossibly complex. 86 billion neurons, 100 trillion connections. Every single one needs constant energy just to stay alive. So when you push through mental fatigue, you're not building strength. You're forcing an already overworked system to cannibalize itself. The brain doesn't get stronger from exhaustion. It gets damaged. And here's where it gets darker. Because that energy crisis, it shapes everything about how you learn, including the next myth, the one that ruins more productivity than any other. Let me guess, right now you have at least 3 tabs open. Maybe a notification just buzzed. You're probably thinking, I'm pretty good at multitasking. You're not. Nobody is, because multitasking doesn't exist. What you're actually doing is called task switching, and every switch has a cost. When you shift attention from email to Slack to that report, your brain doesn't smoothly transition. It has to. Deactivate the previous neural network. Save the context. Activate the new network. Rebuild the context. That takes 0.5 seconds. Doesn't sound like much. But here's the trap. The average person switches tasks every 3 minutes. That's 20 switches per hour. 10 seconds per hour lost? No, because each switch also creates residue. Your brain keeps part of the old task active, which means you're never fully present for the new one. Studies show this can reduce cognitive capacity by 40%, but it feels productive. That's the cruelty of it. Your brain rewards the sensation of busyness, while quietly sabotaging the work itself. Now you might be thinking, okay, but I've been doing this for years. I'm fine. Here's the thing, you're not measuring what you've lost. You're measuring what remains, and what remains is a fraction of what you're capable of. Let me show you what I mean. This is the myth that terrifies people most. I used to remember everything. Now I can't even recall what I had for breakfast. And everyone assumes aging brain. But here's what neuroscience actually shows. Most age-related memory loss isn't neurological decline, it's interference. Think about it. When you were 20, you had fewer memories competing for space, fewer patterns, fewer associations. Every new experience was novel, and the brain prioritizes novelty. By 40, you've accumulated decades of similar experiences. Your brain has seen thousands of breakfasts. So when you try to recall today's breakfast, it's buried under 10,000 similar memories. That's not failure. That's pattern recognition working too well. The fix? Not brain training games. Those don't transfer to real memory. The fix is distinctiveness. The more unique you make an experience, through emotion, context, active recall, the easier it is to retrieve. Your memory isn't broken. You're just asking it to remember generic information in a generic way. This one's almost charming in how wrong it is. I'm not creative, I'm left-brained. I'm bad at math, I'm right-brained. It's personality astrology, but with brain scans. Here's the reality. Every complex task uses both hemispheres. Math requires spatial reasoning, right hemisphere. Art requires sequential planning, left hemisphere. The myth came from split brain studies in the 1960s, patients who had their corpus callosum severed. Yes, you could isolate hemisphere functions in people with severed brains. But in healthy brains, the hemispheres communicate constantly, thousands of signals per second. Saying you're left-brained is like saying you only use your left lung. It's anatomically nonsensical. What this myth actually reveals is preference. Some people prefer verbal thinking, others prefer visual, but that's learning style, not brain structure. So if all these myths are wrong, what's actually true? Here's the uncomfortable answer. Your brain isn't designed for the modern world. It evolved for survival, not for Zoom meetings, not for email, not for continuous partial attention. It evolved to focus intensely for short bursts, rest between efforts, learn through repetition over time, forget irrelevant details. That's why the techniques that actually work feel slow. Spaced repetition, single tasking, sleep, breaks. They feel inefficient because they don't match the pace of modern life, but they match the biology of your brain, and biology always wins. Here's what I want you to understand. That feeling that you're not learning fast enough, not remembering enough, not enough, it's not personal failure. It's a design mismatch. You're trying to run Mac software on Windows hardware. The system was never going to cooperate. But once you know the rules, everything changes. Your brain is the most complex object in the known universe. 3 pounds of tissue that can imagine infinity, compose symphonies, rewrite its own code. It doesn't need to be fixed, it needs to be understood. Stop fighting it, start working with it, and watch what becomes possible.